Good afternoon, everyone. Bit nervous, but that should be alright. So I'm Amina. I'm 21 years old. So this is just some. I'll be taking you through some slides of pictures because I know everyone learns differently. So you might get more from visually seeing some pictures. So I'm 21 years old. I come from a mixed heritage background. I'm half Pakistani and half Jamaican. My dad's Pakistani, my mom's Jamaican. I grew up in Deptford in South London, next to a local estate called Peeps Estate. I grew up facing a lot of challenges, like most people growing up. I grew up with my mum and my eldest sister, so it's the one that's full black, so she's full Jamaican. And when I was 7 years old, she got kicked out because she got pregnant young, which is quite common in my community. Not to be stereotypic, but especially in the environment that I grew up in. A lot of. Okay, sorry. So, just to stick to. So, this stage of my life. So, growing up, yeah. So I faced a lot of challenges. Lots of people from my community have a lot of lack of support. Influence through gangs, grooming in different types of way. I was personally groomed by being confused with my sexuality. My parents weren't together. They were in two different households, so this was very unsettling and destructive for me. When I was 11 years old, my nan moved in with me. She had Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, and a lot of health issues. My mum was her main carer, and I helped to care for her. In 2011, she sadly passed away. So there's a picture here somewhere, 2011. She sadly passed away, and as you can imagine, this was quite sad. But this was the only beginning of what was to come. So this is a picture of school football team. I'll get back to that. So, in 2013, my auntie Neka, who's pictured there also, she was tragically murdered by my uncle in a house fire, which the newspapers would describe as honor killing. Three of my cousins and one family friend were injured, and one of my cousins sustained 80% burns. This was overwhelming and mind-boggling because I couldn't understand how something like this could occur in my life. It was something that I would see on the news and stuff, but never knew it would be something that would be personally happen in my life. It was very tragic, and I didn't really understand how this could happen, but it could happen to anyone. At this time, I was in year 10, and I was preparing to do my early entry GCSEs, which was already a lot of pressure. I was unable to process these things, and I was very much not in control. So throughout my schooling history, I struggled a lot with being misunderstood due to my behaviour and my attitude, always seen as destructive, having ADHD, having potential, but was quite a common thing that was said, especially at parents even. For me, I felt that I was struggling a great deal with outside factors, all of which I have mentioned. And I didn't have a lot of support with dealing with these things. But at the same time, I was very influential amongst my peers. So a lot of my peers very looked up to me, kind of respected me a lot. So that was the kind of imbalance, I suppose, to most people. So during that stage as well, I didn't go home much. I didn't feel safe in certain environments, especially ones where people of authority kind of made me feel uncomfortable because I felt like they were overpowering me. Fortunately, I did finish school with 6 GCSEs, In 2015, another person pictured there, Shaquan Ferron, he was my friend that went to my secondary school, and he was murdered. He was stabbed to death. I knew one of the perpetrators that actually was involved with killing my friend. For me, that was the breaking point for me. I still couldn't process all that was happening over the last 4 years. There was a level of anger that built up inside of me and led me to smoking cannabis and thinking it was a way of relieving my stress. My well-being took a toll, and I struggled with my mental health, as you can imagine. I was frequently angry and upset and suffered a lot with manic behavior. In 2016, I had a suicide attempt, which led to me being homeless. I moved around on sofas and various different locations over 2.5 years. One thing that did keep me well was actually football. So I've played football since I was 5 years old. It's quite popular sport. So playing football actually helped me a lot with just being able to get away from all that was happening. I had a sports scholarship in secondary school as well, so I actually had a chance to have an extra session of sports a week, and if I was to do outside sports, I was able to, they would pay for me. In year 9, I quickly realised my passion for coaching, so I started coaching younger years and supporting them with football, and then at the age of 16, I was able to gain my FA qualification to London FA. So during the stage of 2016, what had happened was there was a family breakdown with me, and as you can see, suicide attempt. There was also, this is a hostel that I lived in actually, just a little video of where I was living. So here's where it all began to change. I was engaging with Black Minds Matter project, where I'm actually an intern now, and they're a project that helps to build young leaders of social change. This project first began due to the inequalities in the mental health services, where people from black and ethnic minorities are overrepresented, as well as they're also overrepresented in school exclusions, children's homes, and youth justice systems. There are many reasons for this, including poverty and systematic institutional racism. This project linked me to a youth club called Keys House, and that's where I met Matt from BES, who he actually encouraged me to go on expedition with. So BES is British Exploring Society. To go on expedition where I'd camp for 3 weeks to go to either Yukon in Canada, the Peruvian Amazon, or the Indian Himalayas. Wow. I was very nervous, but I was up for the challenge, and I had never camped before. I'd only glamped when I went to NCS, which was not really a camping experience to what the Amazon or anywhere else would be. So, as well as it being a secluded place, there was other challenges with going with a group of what appeared to be middle-class children that wouldn't understand me. I went to the weekend brief and quickly realised I was alone in the aspect of camping, as most people there had already been engaging with the outdoors. Plus my fire, which a fire is what in British Explorer Society we call like the group. It's also the amount of people that can fit around the fire. So my fire, we didn't have a set amount of people, and we didn't have our leader, officially have our leader that we was going to be with us. So the next time I would see everyone was at the airport, and the next stop was the rainforest on the other side of the world. How frightening is that? I prepared myself though, getting all my kit ready, the health checks, injections, paperwork. But I was still full of assumptions and prejudgment of what to come. I had to join though. I couldn't let my support down at Keys House. because they had offered me the opportunity and linked me up with Matt. I felt that it was important for me to try to come out of my comfort zone, as I had read many autobiographies before that spoke about people that challenged themselves to put them outside of their comfort zone in order to be the successful people they are today. Taking this step, so it's a briefing weekend, taking this step allowed me to think about when I'd go back into my community, encourage them to try out what I experience with camping and the outdoors. Because people in my community don't really feel comfortable with the thought of going outdoors, or don't really feel connected with the idea of camping or just going for a walk or generally. So I thought, let me go first and then I'll tell others about it, because I know that's quite powerful in the sense of influencing others about the experiences that you face. On expedition, the biggest thing that I took from it was that most of my prejudgments and assumptions were just only out of fear. I quickly became close with my group and enjoyed watching us all come together as one, rather than silo groups or separate groups, which is something that is quite common with young people, especially, to be comfortable. Everyone kind of tries to stick in little groups, but we became one group quickly, as we had to speak about our hygiene quite a lot, and ensure that everyone was safe on treks, because we didn't want diarrhea and vomiting to become apparent. Towards the end of the expedition, I really began to understand the potential that I was told about when I was growing up. It was our final tour. We went on 3 tours during our expedition, which was outside of our base camp. We had gone on a trek the day before, which was to a nice location where you could see pink dolphins, the local people fishing, and the day before that had happened, and the next day, we then had to go by ourselves. So our guide would kind of help us get through to where we needed to go a bit. But this day, we kind of had to be true explorers and actually try to get to the place we had went to before. So it was a big challenge. As you can imagine, it's quite humid and tiring trekking. And we began to get quite stressful and hungry. So we was losing a lot of momentum. Everyone was feeling similar to how I was, but no one was vocalizing it. I then said, let's just go back to the start. Everyone began to agree with me, but the leader of my group pulled me to pull me aside and said that I was a leader in the group and I had a lot of influence, so I was to be positive and try to influence my group. I switched my attitude and built the momentum back up, and we actually ended up finding where we set out to go. That was my biggest lesson. I learned a very, very valuable life lesson. I physically had walked it out, which was to keep going despite not knowing your destination, because the satisfaction is way greater than the journey that you endure. On return from my expedition, that's the video. Oops, not that. On return from my expedition, I didn't quite understand the difference yet, but I could feel that I felt different. I was selected by the chief of the expedition to receive an award at Buckingham Palace through the Duke Explorer scheme, which was set up with British Explorers Society. This was one of my highlights. I became more involved with British Exploring Society, helping them with getting more funding for people like me, as well as more involved with the work that they do. A month or so went by, and it became obvious my inner leader and hunger for change became more apparent. I was looking for a new coaching job, and I stumbled across the opportunity to join the London FA Youth Council, which makes decisions for young people across London, with helping them hit their KPIs, if anyone knows what that is. So through London FA as well. Last year, I attended the FA's Leadership Academy, which is for each county to select 2 people to go and enhance their leadership skills and become a voice for the people in their county. So I attended that at St George's Park, if some people know where that is. And I also became more involved with the Black Lives Matter project. This is an event also that when I had returned, the British Explorer Society asked me to talk at. This is Black Lives Matter. I became an intern with them. This also involved me working with other young people, putting on plays and performances, telling stories of our lives, of how it is being young and growing up with challenges like poverty, family breakdowns, and discrimination. This project works with BAME individuals which are 13 to 25 years old, and there's a scheme that is run in schools which is creative therapies for young people facing behavioural difficulties. And the other part of the scheme is building leaders of social change through masterclasses, a community mentoring scheme, which the mentor walks with them for 16 months. I've had many people at British Explorer Society that have mentored me, and I know the value of this, that it can bring to young people's lives. At the project, the Black Lives Matter project, I'm involved with being a Duke of Edinburgh leader, which helps the individuals on the program to get out of their comfort zone also and out into the outdoors, rather than seeing their usual poor environments, poor housing, which they're often trapped in. This actually is a part of British Exploring Society that lives inside of me, which helps me to support others to achieve the award. I also participate in yoga. So now, after lots of struggling with my mental health and stuff, I do yoga, and this is something that the Black Lives Matter project encourages. So this is just some pictures from working with London FA. So I attended Equal Gaze conference and helped them deliver that last year in May, which was the first of its kind with UEFA, and I also got a recommendation from UEFA. So this was a few weeks ago with the DOV, with Black Lives Matter. So just want to end with this, which is Find Your File, which is what British Exploring Society is known for, and as well as change with Black Lives Matter, which is As We Rise, We Lift. So.